Every time you say this one word, you kill your own blessing. You bury your miracle before it's even born. People wonder why money never stays, why opportunities vanish. But the truth is, it's not the system that's against them. It's their own mouth. There's one word that blocks wealth, one word that heaven refuses to answer. Listen carefully. Your words are spiritual currency. What you speak multiplies. If you say, I can't, you've just signed a contract of limitation. If you say, I never have enough, you've declared your own drought. But if you say, I am ready for abundance, the universe begins to move. The word that kills wealth is can't. Because the moment you say, I can't, your spirit stops trying, heaven stops listening, and your future stops expanding. Rich people don't speak limitation, they speak expectation. Before we go deeper, pause right now. Type in the comments, I'm UST. Let's break the curse of that word together. Because the minute you declare possibility, something begins to shift in your atmosphere. Words are seeds. Every word you speak carries a life of its own, an unseen energy that moves beyond sound and settles into your reality. When you speak, you are not merely expressing thoughts, you are releasing power. Words are invisible containers of creative force. They hold faith or fear, abundance or lack, growth or decay. The moment they leave your mouth, they begin to work silently, shaping the world around you. Many people underestimate the power of what they say daily. They joke about being broke, about failing, about never catching a break. They call it just talking. But the spiritual law does not recognize humor. It only responds to what is spoken with conviction. The soil of life does not discriminate. It simply grows whatever seed it receives. Speak words of lack, and lack multiplies. Speak words of increase, and increase begins to find you. When you look closely at how creation itself began, everything started with a spoken word. The power that formed galaxies, oceans, and human life was released through speech. That same principle governs your life today. Each time you open your mouth, you are either building or breaking. Every I can't, I'm tired, or I'll never make it is a seed planted in the soil of your destiny. You may not see the results immediately, but words take root and grow in silence until they manifest visibly. The universe listens to what you say about yourself and mirrors it back. When you constantly say you're unlucky, your reality aligns to that frequency. When you begin saying you are blessed, opportunities and ideas start appearing to support that truth. The difference between the poor and the wealthy often starts in their vocabulary. A wealthy mindset speaks in possibilities. It says, I'll find a way. I'll make it happen. There's always enough. A limited mindset speaks in barriers. I can't afford it. It's too hard. That's impossible. Over time, the words spoken by each person create two very different worlds. The first opens doors. The second locks them. Even when both face the same external challenges, the one who speaks faith rises because their language invites solutions, while the one who speaks defeat sinks because their language rejects them. You become a product of the phrases you repeat. Think about how often people speak curses over themselves without realizing it. I'm broke. I'm unlucky. I never win. That's just my life. Each statement becomes an instruction to the unseen realm to keep delivering more of the same. The mind believes what the mouth says. Once you speak it, your subconscious begins to adjust to fulfill that expectation. If you say, I'm not good with money, You'll unconsciously act in ways that prove yourself right. But if you declare, I attract wealth easily, your mind begins searching for ways to make that true. This is not magic, it's alignment. Words direct focus, and focus directs energy. There is also a spiritual vibration behind every phrase. Words of gratitude carry the frequency of increase. Words of complaint carry the frequency of lack. That's why people who speak appreciation seem to magnetize more things to be thankful for. The universe or divine law echoes what you release. When you speak life, you draw life. When you speak doubt, you draw delay. The mouth is a gate. Through it flow either blessings or burdens. Guard that gate. The reason most people remain in cycles of struggle is that their mouths never stop watering the seeds of struggle. They keep rehearsing their pain instead of declaring their promise. To change your financial reality, you must first change your verbal reality. Instead of saying, I can't pay these bills, start saying, money flows easily into my life. Instead of saying, I'm always behind, start saying, I'm catching up and moving ahead. This isn't pretending, it's planting. Speak the harvest you want to see. Your words are never wasted. They either build the foundation of your blessing or the walls of your limitation. What you speak today becomes the environment you live in tomorrow. There's a word that cancels abundance, a word so small and common that most people use it without a second thought. Yet it quietly sabotages every dream they hope to achieve. It slips into conversation wrapped in humility or frustration, sounding harmless, but it carries the vibration of defeat. It is the language of limitation, the sound of surrender before the battle even begins. When spoken repeatedly, this word tells your spirit to stop reaching, your mind to stop creating, and your heart to stop believing. You don't realize how many blessings have turned away from you because this single word shut the door. It is not a curse word in the worldly sense. It is a spiritual blockade disguised as common sense. When you say this word, you give permission for lack to stay. You confirm that what you desire is beyond reach, that you are powerless to change your circumstances. The universe, the divine energy that responds to faith, hears your declaration and says, as you wish. That's the law. Whatever you confess consistently, you attract. People often wonder why opportunities pass them by, why every financial door seems closed, why they take one step forward and two steps back. The reason is simple. Their mouth keeps agreeing with limitation. They pray for blessings, but speak words that contradict those prayers. You cannot plant the seed of lack and expect the fruit of abundance to grow. Most people use this word to protect themselves from disappointment. They say it before they even try, so that failure won't hurt as much. They think by speaking limitation, they're being realistic. But realism without faith is just disguised fear. You were never meant to live by what is seen. You were meant to speak into what is unseen until it becomes visible. Every great success begins with a word of belief. Every failure begins with a word of doubt. When you speak this word, you silence the part of your soul designed to imagine, create, and overcome. The tragedy is that people pass this word down like an inheritance. Children hear their parents use it, so they grow up believing it's normal. They hear, we can't afford that, or we can't move forward, or we can't make it work, until can't becomes the language of their bloodline. Without realizing it, they carry that same vocabulary into adulthood and wonder why prosperity feels distant. The power of wealth is not only in working harder, but in speaking wiser. The wealthiest minds refuse to let that word enter their speech. Even when faced with impossibility, they replace it with I can learn, I will find a way, or it's not easy, but it's possible. Their success is rooted in the discipline of choosing life, giving language over life, draining language. Every time you say that limiting word, you plant weeds in your mental garden. Those weeds grow fast, choking out every new idea, every spark of courage. They make you believe you are too small, too late, too unworthy to experience overflow. But the truth is, abundance doesn't respond to your circumstances. It responds to your speech. You can be surrounded by struggle, but if your mouth keeps declaring possibility, life will bend to match your words. Conversely, you can have every resource around you, but if your mouth keeps confessing limitation, you'll never see the fruit of those resources. The most dangerous thing about this word is how casual it sounds. You say it in frustration, in humor, in complaint, and it still carries the same vibration. It becomes a mantra of mediocrity, repeated until your subconscious accepts it as truth. The mind stops dreaming where the mouth stops believing. If you want to change your life, you must evict this word from your vocabulary completely. Replace it with language of capability, faith, and expectancy. Speak, I can, even when you don't see how. Speak, I will, even when the evidence says no. Every word you release shifts your atmosphere. Remove the word that cancels abundance, and you open the flow of divine provision, waiting to respond to your faith-filled speech. Your mouth creates your reality. Every sentence you speak is a brushstroke on the canvas of your life, painting either a masterpiece of abundance or a picture of limitation. The words you speak are not simply sounds. They are commands sent into the unseen world, programming your mind and shaping your future. You are, at this very moment, living inside the echoes of what you once said about yourself. If you trace back your current situation, you'll notice that your speech predicted it long before it arrived. What you repeatedly say with conviction eventually becomes what you experience. The mouth is the architect of destiny. The heart may dream, but it is the tongue that builds. When you speak something long enough, your subconscious begins to treat it as reality. The brain doesn't know the difference between truth and repetition. It only obeys what it hears most often. If you keep saying, I'm tired, your energy level drops. If you constantly say, I can't afford it, your decisions begin to reflect scarcity. But when you affirm, I am favored, money finds me, or doors are opening for me, your mind starts scanning the environment for opportunities that match those declarations. This is why successful people guard their speech carefully. They know their words have creative power. They do not describe their situation. They declare their outcome. The spoken word also directs spiritual forces. The universe, the divine, or whatever you call the higher system, responds to the vibration of faith-filled speech. When you speak with belief, you attract ideas, people, and moments that align with that energy. When you speak with doubt, you repel them. Words are energy, they carry intention. Every statement you release sends out a signal that calls similar energy back to you. When you speak blessings, blessings return. When you speak worry, worry multiplies. Many people spend their lives praying for miracles, but canceling those prayers with their everyday conversations. They say, I'm believing for abundance, but then complain about never having enough. They are asking for light while planting darkness with their speech. The law of creation cannot respond to contradiction. You cannot build a palace with the language of poverty. The structure of your life rises on the foundation of your words. Every declaration is a brick, every confession is cement. If your daily speech is filled with doubt, comparison, or negativity, you are building walls that block your own success. But if you fill your speech with vision, gratitude, and faith, you build a house that attracts favor. Even the smallest words carry power. A single, I will, can shift your energy from waiting to working. A single, I am, can transform how you see yourself. Your mouth also activates your emotions. When you say something with passion, you feel it more deeply, and those emotions energize your actions. This is why affirmations are powerful only when spoken, not just thought. The spoken word engages the physical body, the emotional heart, and the spiritual field all at once. It aligns what you think, feel, and believe. Every time you speak your goals aloud, you are reminding your entire being to move toward them. Silence keeps potential locked inside you, but speech sets it in motion. However, when you speak negatively, that same power turns against you. Saying, I'm not good enough, or nothing works out for me, becomes a prophecy of defeat. Those words build invisible barriers that your effort alone cannot break. The world around you starts reflecting the limitations you've declared. Even your relationships respond to your speech. People feel the energy behind your words. Positive, confident language attracts support, while self-pitying talk pushes others away. You draw your tribe by what you talk about most. To create a different reality, you must discipline your mouth. Refuse to let it speak fear, lack, or complaint. Speak only what you want to see. Instead of saying, say, I'm growing. Instead of, I don't know how, say, I'm learning every day. You're not lying, you're creating. You are aligning your outer world with the future you desire. Every successful person began speaking their success before they ever saw it. They didn't wait for evidence. They created evidence with their words. The truth is simple. Your life follows your language. Change what you say, and your world will have no choice but to change with you. Heaven's system responds to faith-filled speech, not fear-filled excuses. There is a spiritual law that governs the invisible realm, and it is activated through faith expressed by words. When you speak with belief, you are sending a divine signal that aligns you with heaven's resources. The language of heaven is faith. It does not recognize fear, complaint, or doubt. Faith moves the unseen hand of provision, while fear freezes it. Many people think heaven is silent or unresponsive. But the truth is, heaven is always listening. It's just waiting to hear the sound of faith. Every time you speak words rooted in confidence and expectation, you awaken movement in the spiritual atmosphere. But when you speak fear or excuses, that energy collapses and the flow of blessing is interrupted. Faith is not emotion. It is conviction. It is the decision to speak as if it's already done, even when nothing around you supports that belief. When heaven hears faith-filled speech, it responds immediately because it recognizes its own voice. The universe was created through faith-filled words, and it still operates by that same principle. Fear, on the other hand, speaks in a tone heaven cannot interpret. It's static interference in a divine frequency. Fear says, what if I fail? Faith says, what if it works? Fear says, I don't have enough. Faith says, I have everything I need to begin. Heaven doesn't respond to panic. It responds to declaration. When you pray or speak about your dreams with fear, you are sending mixed signals. It's like stepping on the gas and the brake at the same time. You may be asking for increase, but your fearful words create resistance against it. Heaven wants to give, but it cannot violate the law of belief. Faith opens, fear closes. Every miracle begins when faith finds its voice. You must learn to speak from conviction, not from circumstance. Speak what you desire, not what you see. Circumstances are temporary, but words of faith are eternal. They outlast situations and build realities. Excuses are fear disguised as logic. They sound reasonable, but they're deadly to manifestation. When you say, "I'll try when I have more money," or "I can't do that until I'm ready," you're telling heaven to pause its response. Excuses delay what faith would accelerate. Heaven cannot multiply what you are unwilling to believe for. The moment you shift from excuse to expectation, the flow resumes. Many breakthroughs are not denied. They are delayed by the sound of fear. The universe respects confidence. It expands wherever faith is spoken boldly. Faith-filled speech also shifts your internal world. It activates courage, creativity, and clarity. When you start declaring, "I can handle this," your body finds strength, your mind finds solutions, and your environment starts to cooperate. When you say, "I am surrounded by opportunities," your perception widens, and you begin to notice open doors that were always there, but hidden by fear. Faith not only speaks to heaven, it transforms you into the kind of person who can handle the blessings you're asking for. The problem is that fear speaks louder for most people, because they trust what they see more than what they believe. They look at the bills, the empty account, the rejection, and their words echo that reality. But faith looks at the same evidence and speaks the opposite. Faith says, "This is not the end." Faith says, "Something greater is coming." When you start aligning your speech with what heaven has promised instead of what earth has presented, things begin to move in your favor. Heaven's system operates by vibration and agreement. If your mouth and your faith are in harmony, miracles become natural. If your mouth is full of excuses, the system pauses, waiting for you to switch frequencies. Faith-filled words are like keys. They open locked doors. Fear-filled excuses are like chains. They keep those doors closed. The moment you replace fear with faith in your speech, you unlock divine timing. Heaven rushes to fulfill what it hears in faith. So never waste your voice speaking from doubt. Speak possibility. Speak courage. Speak victory. The divine responds to those who dare to believe that what they say in faith can become what they live in reality. The forbidden word keeps you poor, small, and doubtful. It disguises itself as humility, but it is really a form of self-sabotage. Every time you say it, you limit the possibilities that could unfold for you. It sounds innocent, but its vibration tells the universe, "I am not ready to receive." It tells your spirit, "Stay where you are." It tells your future, "Don't bother showing up." This single word keeps countless people from rising into wealth and success because it becomes the invisible ceiling they never break through. It is not just a word, it is a mindset, a belief system compressed into sound. When spoken repeatedly, it builds walls around your potential and cages your creativity. You may have talent, ambition, and even divine favor, but if your speech keeps echoing limitation, that favor cannot flow freely. The forbidden word thrives in environments of fear and self-doubt. It feeds on uncertainty and disguises itself as realism. People use it to protect their pride. They'd rather say it and not try than risk trying and failing. But in doing so, they fail before they begin. It is the word that closes doors before knocking. that turns away opportunity before it even approaches. It convinces you that some dreams are too big, that abundance is for others, that wealth is a matter of luck instead of mindset. This is why so many stay trapped in cycles of just enough, never realizing that the prison was built by their own vocabulary. The forbidden word also